Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Springfield one-shot slash kind of content or critical content slash neither of those things, because today, not necessarily talking about a business, we're talking about a creator now, because you would technically be a creator now.
Yeah.
But we are sitting down with someone from our game, from the table. Today I have Will Acton, aka everyone's favorite we don't know what.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so what we're going to do in these is, as we get to know our players a little bit more, both their character that they play as well as the person. So in this case, Will, what was the first tabletop RPG you ever played?
Ooh.
I'm not going to say D&D because it might have been something else.
Yeah. So I'm one of those basic people that basically watched Stranger Things and said, "Ooh, that looks fun." But my friends and I, we called it D&D, but it really wasn't D&D. It was more of like, we didn't have character sheets or anything.
Sure.
It was like a homebrew, just talking to each other. And if I remember right, we actually based it off of the Marvel universe, where like we picked out superheroes with powers. And our DM, like, he would just basically give us a scenario, walk through it, very much like D&D, and then still kind of in the Stranger Things concept. I was sort of like 11 in a way of like, like the telekinesis type of stuff. And so it'd be like, oh, I want to lift up this boulder, and he'd say, roll a d20. And he would just kind of decide the damage based off of that. So like it was very watered down d20. After that, I think actually the next like official one that I played was Vampire the Masquerade.
That's on my bucket list.
It's fun. It's weird.
I've heard. I have the system. I have not yet played it though.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely weird. But I did that for a bit. Went into traditional 5e, and then a bit of Monster of the Week like Call of Cthulhu. Which that's fun. I love that. And then I started running my own games too with friend groups. So Monster Week was the first one that I did. Then I did the D&D campaign, and now I'm actually running a Starfinder campaign for some friends, which is a blast. I love that. So
what I love about that is that it wasn't just a D&D like a medieval high fantasy. I mean, you have gothic horror. You have staple mark Cthulhu, a Starfinder, and I also. We're filming at my home, so you may hear my daughter Ashlyn guest starring in the background as she is crawling, and my wife says no. So as you cannot go there. But what I love about, I don't want to say watered down, because for you guys it was a game. There is no watering down until you started playing other stuff. That's when you're like, oh, this is reserved. But do you feel like you would have gotten as engrossed in those other games had you not started a little bit more simplified? I guess, let me rephrase it like this. Had you gone straight in to Vampire Masquerade or straight into D&D 5e, do you think that your love for tabletop RPGs would be as massive as it is today?
That's a good question.
And that's fine
because,
saying, it'd still be the same. But
because I think it definitely would have been harder for me to have gotten into like the mechanical side of it.
Sure.
Roleplay side, I'm a theater nerd. I like doing the roleplay. That's what I loved first about tabletop RPGs, was picking out a character, kind of fully getting invested in them. And I think kind of like that watered down sense of it, of like, if I'm just talking one-on-one, I can come up with crazy ideas for what my character's doing, but kind of getting introduced to like dice mechanics of like, okay, you may say that you're going to do this, but you rolled a nat 1. Sorry, you don't. You critically fail.
Sure.
I think like that was a good way to get me introduced to that. Vampire the Masquerade was kind of a bit of a shock as far as setting up my character, because that was my first major like character creation. But I think kind of already having a sense of how tabletop plays in a very general sense really helped kind of ease me into that, as opposed to if I would have started there, I probably would have still gotten there, but it would have taken me a lot longer to really like get invested into a character.
I mean, no doubt, mechanics are daunting, really, no matter what system.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate systems that just use D6s or D20s. I appreciate that. But there is certainly something daunting that when you look at, and I have Seven's character sheet pulled up in front of me.
I still don't know everything that I can do.
And it's you see numbers, and for someone who instantly feels like this isn't going to work for them because maybe they weren't math just wasn't their thing growing up. One, that's fine. You don't need to be a huge math person. I mean, there's plenty of us also sitting at the table be like, all right, we got you covered. You just throw numbers at us, we'll do it for you. Or D&D Beyond, I mean, you just click on it and it can roll for you. It does all of it for you. So, or not just D&D Beyond, but there's also other sites as well. I'm not just pandering to one, but if you want to pander to me, I can. So you said that you came from a theater background. So do you think that, well, I guess I should say how, and I just dropped my mic. So that's kind of on brand for Wes, though. I drop a mic at least once an episode.
Yeah.
And not in like a BA kind of way, just.
Yeah, it falled over.
Do you think that having that kind of theater experience helps you make more enriched characters?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was one of the things, I sort of started theater in high school, and that was one of the first things that we sort of went through with an exercise. It's kind of like improv training in a way of like, what's your character's backstory? Like, even if you're just an extra walking stage right to stage left, why are you doing that? Understand, it's like, I remember there was one character I played. Oh shoot, what show was that? Whatever. But
I can't help you there, man.
Yeah. You're on your own. It wasn't like a well-known. It was like one of those like comedy 2-act things. But I know like there's for like a lot of the scenes I had to be like sort of back like in the back of the scene, but like spying on them. Okay. And like all it said in the script is basically it was like Eddie spies on conversation, and then it's like 4 pages later. But like you're supposed to see me periodically, and so like I had to come up with on my own like how am I reacting to this, and like what life events did he go through before that he would like be interested in what so and so is saying. And it's like kind of putting that level of thought into a character on stage helped me think about backstories for my characters and tabletop, especially with 7, where it's like I wrote up a lot of backstory, but like so much of it is also still locked away. There's also still a lot I don't know, but it's still kind of thinking of like, okay, sure, he goes into a donut shop, like that's very mundane, but it's this is the first time he's ever done that. He's like fully fascinated by these things, and it's like kind of putting that level of thought into this character can totally change how you're playing it. And just there's times where it almost is like I become the character in a way. Like and the theater experience definitely helped with that, because I try to kind of do that with whatever character I am anyway.
Sure. Well, that's actually a good shift into kind of the conversation about 7. Is that 7 is a barbarian class, which for those that don't know, it is the it's Schwarzenegger, Conan the Barbarian. I mean, it says barbarian in the name, but the kind of hulked out, figures things out with the edge of a weapon or fist, depending on how you build it, kind of guy. So 7 in our game is an automaton of some sort. Not very familiar with his past. Gets flashes every now and again. So, for all, I think this is the third time I've said intents and purposes during a recording. For all intents and purposes.
At least you're saying that like that instead of
not intensive purposes.
Yes, yeah.
Intensive purposes. I'm going to use that specifically in a correct manner. Intensive purposes.
Yeah.
But he is almost seeing things like a newborn, like a baby for the first time.
Yeah.
How is it difficult? Is it easy for you to almost force yourself to not know the mundane, not know the things that we take for granted?
Yeah.
even eating or things like that. So how hard or easy is that?
It took a little bit of training at first to more so find a balance between he doesn't know anything and letting the other players talk. Because if I were to continually play the, I don't know what this is, I don't know what this is, I don't know what this is, it's just going to be 7 doesn't know things, sure. The podcast. So I tried to find those kind of sort of comedic moments of he's understanding economics and bartering, because it's that's sort of my running bit now. Oh, yeah.
I need money.
yeah. I love that whole scene. But stuff like that, or he is an automaton of some sort. He doesn't have to eat or drink or do any of that.
Not in the conventional sense that we know of. So,
but he can, and he does, and enjoys food. But he's also like I said before, had never had a donut before. Sure. Finds them amazing. There is a bit of that childlike wonder of him, but still with kind of that adult presence in a way. It's an interesting mix with him to try to figure out sometimes how to go about situations. Right. And it's also helpful. There's been times where, I'm thinking of one time where we were at that.
Okay, I also want to point out, don't reveal too much, because everything shared is about 2 episodes behind. I apologize, I'm working on it.
But the first time that we went to that tavern, okay. The inn, sure. And they asked if I wanted food, and they're just do you want nuts and bolts or whatever? And I was I think I'll just take food. I haven't tried it, but let's go for it. But getting sort of the input from the other characters, I think it was Tony at one point turned to me and just do you eat? I'm just I don't know. Let's find out. And sometimes it's things that kind of go over my head at first. It's sure. Oh, this is new to 7. Sure. So it's a really good team that we have to kind of help me understand this is new, or they can teach me how to barter with someone very poorly.
Well, and just speaking of that childlike wonder or whatever, it almost seems to turn into instinctual response when 7 goes into battle, though. Almost I'm not trying to paint any foreshadowing or anything that it's almost like a pre-programming, 7 knows combat. This is what he knows. This is what he's able to do. There is no questioning. There is no needing to ask. It's they are against me. I am against them to a certain point. 7's able to restrain himself, but
sure. Well, I still think in the first session when we were going up against the bigger owlbears before we got Beakley, when I turned around and I'm just how much do we want this to hurt? And they're just badly. And I was got it. And then Hulk out at that point.
Let's go from 1 to dead. Where are these going to be at?
Yeah. But yeah, very much so. It's I kind of almost play it as if he was created, as far as we know, sure. to be a war machine. Sure. That is at least his original purpose.
As far as 7 knows, as far as he knows, I'm allowing people to know.
Yes.
It may simply be the fact.
Yes. So something sort of just clicks and activates, and he just, for the most part, knows what to do. I mean, he's going to be caught off guard at times, for sure. But
for a barbarian to never get caught off guard in the midst of a battle, I'd be impressed.
But stop me if this is spoiler at this point, but with the Grand Rose.
Okay, no, we're there. We're
good. We're there. I thought that was the last one.
Yeah, that one's out.
But everybody's just what are you doing? You're just grabbing her and running away, and it's she's the asset basically that we need to protect. She's in danger right there. His programming basically says grab and go.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't even you knew who the Grand Rose was. You just the party came upon these guards and a person being assaulted by cloaked figures, and y'all sprung. Well, Banner sprung in first. Our war domain cleric. And then everything went. But then you're able to control yourself when you need to, which some barbarians just flat out, I don't want to say are chaotic stupid, but sometimes they are, and that's not to the fault of the character or to the player. That's just how it's run. So why did you choose for? I guess I should ask. Did you decide on the race first of a Warforged technically, or did you choose the class first of a barbarian?
Ooh, I think they kind of went hand in hand there. Because I know we were deciding, the divvying up the classes between people. They're definitely with the lack of a solid hitter there. And I kind of have had this idea of like an automaton missing its memories for a while. And so like kind of plugging that in. I guess it was the race first. Because I thought the Warforged race, which is what 7 officially is, that is, very much what it sounds like, forged in war. And so that instantly just brought it to Barbarian. But very much with all my tabletop characters, I like to kind of subvert expectations a bit. Yeah. So it's like, 7 isn't always just that person that rushes in head first. He's like this innocent child, basically, in a way. So yeah, I think kind of the racing class sort of went hand in hand there. But just not in like that traditional, okay, I'm a war machine, I'm just gonna just be mean and brooding and,
Well, and for me, when you described it, then when you started playing it at first, I had the feel of he had elements of Ultron from the MCU when he first comes out, before he connects to everything and learns everything. Mm-hmm. That very much like, why am I here? Why am I created? And obviously he's a massive hulking death machine.
Yeah.
But I mean, you definitely get, though, I would say the converse, you also get a lot of vision as well. His personality, be like, there is the good, there is the wanting to protect, wanting to see people thrive.
Absolutely.
Who aren't obviously trying to kill you.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned Tony earlier. He plays Felix Cogsman, our artificer gnome or halfling. I am so sorry.
Oh, good question. I think
terrible.
gnome. I think
terrible
gnome.
person.
I think gnome.
Okay. Yeah,
Tony, I'm sorry. Sorry if we're wrong.
Sorry, Tony.
He's short.
He's short. He's under 4 foot. But you guys kind of hit it off from the beginning of the campaign. Yeah. And that's because there's a little bit of a background prior to that. And I believe you had mentioned it in those previous episodes, but what is kind of that prior connection with Felix?
Sure. So yeah, from what I remember, we had talked about and mentioned in the sessions before, basically at some point 7 just wakes up and he pretty much just kind of like in just the deserted forest, had no idea where he is, where he was even. He just doesn't know. And so he just is kind of wandering north, I believe is where from where I originated. And is wandering and stumbles across, 7 walks into a town just trying to get information. Sure. Everybody's terrified of him because here's this hulking automaton that nobody has seen before walking in. And Felix, being an artificer, basically looked to me and it's like, fascinating. I want to learn everything about how this dude works. And so we kind of tagged along. And it was sort of this mutual understanding of like, he wants to understand me and he's also on his own quest as well. I also want to understand me, but I also want to try to figure out, where did I come from, where did I go, where did I come from, kind of Joe.
And kind of understanding the world around you as well. I mean, and if you listen to the episodes, like Felix does do that. I don't want to say automaton splaining, but gnome splaining, but it kind of acts as that buffer. Be like, okay, he's missing this point. I need to explain it, or you straight up ask and be like, is this? Do I do this? Do we not do this? Okay.
He's almost like either like an older brother, almost like a father, in that sense of like, no, like we don't do that. And it's like,
it's almost Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah,
if you think about it, with the Elric brothers. But if you haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist, you're just, where have you been?
I know.
Where?
Honestly, I don't even watch that much anime, and I've seen it. So
But so 7 recently experienced something kind of traumatizing. And during you guys had met with kind of a leader of this order, of this temple of Xi'an, who is the god of knowledge. And you allowed them to kind of poke around your head. And in our campaign, it started out that our players themselves, so Will, not Seven, Will, Tony, Jack, David, Nathan, Andy, you all went to the Hogan of the Center of the Arts.
Ooh, shut up.
Got led into a room and got sucked into a white light, and then this campaign started. This bookmaster, Taillock is his name, went poking around Seven's head and found Will. So, knowing where the campaign started, in essentially the real world, and then going to this high fantasy place, what was it like for Seven? Or what is Seven thinking or feeling, knowing that there is this entity, non-entity in his head?
Yeah, I think part of him, in a way, since he doesn't know what the world is like, I think for a while, part of him is just like, oh, okay, I get it. This is standard operation, basically. Like, that's weird. That was a very, painful way to go about it. But, I guess everybody had the will in their head. Like, it's a weird way to put it.
We've all got the will.
Yeah, exactly. Willpower. But yeah, I think Seven is now realizing, especially after spoiler events that happened in the previous episode that we recorded, that this is not normal, but it's also weirdly comforting in a way to also have somebody literally with him who also does not know anything going on. It's almost like having like my own companion.
Commiseration buddies, almost, yeah. I
mean, he definitely is still like taken off guard by it, but in a way, it's it couldn't have happened to a better person in a way at first, because it's he doesn't know what's going on. He's so like exploratory in a way that he really is not just freaking out immediately. He just like, like, what's this? It's a very interesting thing to try to play Seven and Will at the same time, because I feel like for Seven's voice, I changed it a little bit, but it still is pretty much my voice. So the times where in this previous session you voiced Seven across me, spoiler,
you'll get to hear that.
You get to see that. That's fun.
To hear that.
But it also was interesting to try to make the two characters distinct in a way, because I feel like there's a lot of myself in Seven.
And I hope that I wasn't like...
you did it perfectly.
But it's... because I noticed as well, like, maybe Seven's a little bit more, I don't want to say breathy, but like more airy in his tone, a little bit lighter. But, I mean, Will, I assume, is a little bit more sure of himself than Seven is in a lot of things.
I'm typically louder in person, too.
Sure. So. Well, and that's also, I guess, a good question between the difference between you and Seven. I mean, although you and Seven are naturally both kind and everything, he is also willing to kill at the drop of a hat. I shouldn't say the drop of a hat, with good cause.
Sure.
And everything. Granted, this is fantasy, and you are a licensed counselor.
Yes.
So is there something almost therapeutic playing a character that just gets to let out his aggression?
Yeah, there definitely is. And I find, in my free time, like the video games that I play, I'm always like sort of that
aggressive.
Tank. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There is a way.
No one gets hurt.
Yeah. No one gets hurt, and it's always fun, because I say this with every game. So right now I'm playing through Baldur's Gate 3, which is
I need to.
Fabulous. But you get to kind of make these, character decisions of good versus evil, and it's funny because like there's no consequences to being evil, and yet I still always tend to lean on that good side. But there is something sort of therapeutic in a way about like taking your aggressions or anger out in like a fantasy setting, and it's something I even tell my clients. So it's like, So it's slightly different, but one of my clients plays football and also deals with anger. And I'm just like, channel that. Like, like fully like you don't have to suppress your anger, just manifest it in appropriate ways. Like,
not to the point of like breaking bones of people and everything, but
it's like you're a linebacker. Go tackle.
Oh yeah. Oh, knock somebody out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, that's a great way to get that aggression out. And I definitely do that sometimes with my characters, and like it's honestly so much fun when it's like in one of our recent sessions when I took out 2 guys at once. And it was just boom. It was like, ooh, just seeing those high numbers, like that's fun. And it's like that's not the reason why I build that class, but oh man, that's a great side effect of it. Like,
Well, and I think that everyone plays a character that they try to play against their natural, like, for me, like whenever I played Knights of the Old Republic back in the day, I wanted to be evil on everything, but eventually I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. There's a line of morality for myself, and you even spoke about it, like even in video games, we don't want to do this to a fictional person.
Yeah.
But I think that once everyone gets that character that's adverse to their nature out of the way, I mean, I did that from kind of right from the get-go when I started playing TTRPGs. I really haven't felt like I needed to again.
Yeah.
They've always pretty much been my morality structure roundaboutly, or my temperament style. So let's see here. I'm not gonna lie, you brought up football and I thought, man, my last 2 players are playing today in fantasy football.
I have Josh Allen playing right now, man.
Oh man, yeah, I got 2 and they're
We're
playing
in the
against
same
each
league.
Yeah. I mean, my last 2 players are playing against each other. I just need one to make a field goal and one to make 5 receptions, and I think I got it. But, so speaking about like kind of the good nature to things, you guys, and you mentioned earlier, you guys picked up Beakley.
Mm-hmm.
The orphan, only an orphan, because of what y'all did.
Yeah.
You literally slaughtered his family and then said, ooh, a puppy, and took it. But Beakley seems to connect with you more than anyone else. Is that intentional on your end? Do you think that there's something on maybe Beakley's end, or what do you think there?
Yeah, that definitely wasn't at all the plan from the get-go. We didn't even know we were going to face any owlbears from the get-go. But I think it's I think that was a little bit of like will coming through in 7, because like it's just like baby animal, like I want it. Like it's mine. So I think part of it was 7's, with as little as we really know about his backstory, I think there is almost this contrast to his barbaric nature of wanting to be like that comforter for something. And Beakley was like literally the first thing that he's seen that is an outlet for that. And so like, sort of similar to how like Felix is, being the papa for 7, it's like 7 is almost being like the parent for Beakley in a way. And that's not to say the other guys. And
it's like dad getting your son or daughter a puppy. And the puppy is the son or daughter's, but the dad always has to clean up the mess.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, exactly. But when Beakley goes on his little, murdering sprees and stuff,
he recently,
yeah, really,
recently, but
he's given a chance to shine.
He is finally.
Yeah, finally.
This baby, we're giving a baby a chance to shine and
he
murder.
Did a great job.
He did.
That is probably one of my favorite scenes, though, that we've ever recorded. Just from like the visual scenery of just like. Anyway, you'll hear it. It's great.
So what is something that we're gonna, and if the other, I know everyone else in my game listens to these, so. Don't meta. What is something that everyone else at the table doesn't yet know about 7?
Ooh, I gotta think, because there's so much that 7 doesn't know about 7.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of, just his backstory even that he does know. because just like those little flashes that he saw when the Bookmaster tapped into his head, and there's like the Dragonkin basically were working on him. See little flashes of some other automatons similar to him. I think that's probably one of the bigger things is the way, whether or not you pull through with this, the way I kind of designed Seven's name is he is a number, which means that there are at least 6 more before him, however many after him. And he has had these visions of similar creatures like him. I think one of the things they don't know is that there even is anything out there like him.
Well, even the Bookmaster had confirmed, and this is out, he had confirmed he'd seen one of your like, but it was, I think, a little bit different, and obviously not running.
Yes.
Anymore.
Yeah.
It's probably like a Windows XP or something. Yeah. But what do you think about Seven? Do you think that he would? What does Will think Seven was created for at this moment in time?
So my own personal theory, based off of what I had envisioned Seven as, but I've also kind of like gifted you the backstory of Seven to shape and do what you want with it. But kind of as I feel like Seven understands himself, and as I understand Seven, is he was created to be a war machine, but these creators essentially were using whatever they can to try to upgrade him. And the other automatons like him tapped into some sort of magic, which is why that sort of tree trunky part of him glows. And that reshaped him. He's no longer just a killing machine. He has possibly a soul or whatever you may say that makes him more human in that sense. Now, what that means as far as like what is his purpose, what is he doing, I think so much of that is actually what Seven's ultimate drive in this campaign is he's like, well, I at least know why I was in a very general sense created, but why was I reawoken? And I have all these feelings, I have these desires to be more human, like not just kill. Why? What did that mean? What am I supposed to be doing? I just think that's something that he's discovering as he goes along.
So what do you think, what is one of your hopes or aspirations for Seven? Like what would, and I'm not asking you to load the gun or anything for me, because the gun's been loaded, it's been shot, the bullet is just going really slow. It's like Hamilton where right at the end. So shout out Lin-Manuel Miranda. But
please sponsor us if you want.
Make a musical.
Seven, the musical, the sequel to 6.
Just a bunch of robots being decapitated. What is an aspiration or a hope for Seven? I'm not going to ask for what would be a satisfying conclusion for Seven, because obviously understanding why, where, and who he is the most satisfying you can get. But what is kind of a big aspiration you would like for either his story, his personality, whatever that may be?
I think claiming the Everthrone would definitely be it. Absolutely pulling that joke.
The Everthrone. So that was on our Discord server that we talk about amongst ourselves. But Jack, who plays Ren, threw out, well, I would love to see Seven sitting on the throne of the High King. As
we're with that.
Awesome as that would be, it'd be terrifying. When you said what donuts would be the
donuts for everybody. Rule number 1.
Only food?
No, but it definitely is the most important. Donuts for everybody. Don't do wars. That's it.
I feel like everyone needs rule number 2. Just don't do wars. Aside from deposing the High King of the world,
I feel like honestly, the biggest thing for him is maybe not even so much of understanding his past, but more of understanding the future of yeah, definitely like understanding. I sound so therapeutic right now.
It's okay. You literally just came from work.
I literally just came straight here from work. But I think it's like in part recognizing where he was, but more so understanding, what did he want to become and what did he want to be. I think honestly more than anything, it's essentially like human, which it's kind of interesting with this whole, will in his head. Like there's almost a part of me that's like, I kind of see like a marrying of Seven and Will kind of together.
Man and machine.
Yeah.
Deus Ex Machina, yeah.
And, even if like at the end is like, we'll get to go home, because I'd love to go home.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, like Seven almost like embodying a lot more of like humanistic qualities, or like there's almost even part of me that's like Seven gets a new physical form that's a lot more humanoid, like organic. Because right now he's so machine.
Very Iron Man suit like in build, but yeah, I get that.
So I think being able to figure out a way for him to at least like feel more human, and like I kind of have joked about this when we leveled up, of like, I'm gonna take like a skill in Bard just so that, because like he just is interested in learning an instrument, or like he wants to learn how to cook the meals that he just had tasted, and it's like I feel like more of almost like that like artistic expression of like the thing to make him more human in a way would be probably like the best endpoint for Seven, regardless of if he fully understands why he was created or like what his purpose is. I feel like in a way like he's almost gonna reach a point of like, I can just make my own purpose. Like if I decide that I want to be more human, I can. And sort of work that way out.
Well, and I mean, even mechanics wise, you're not that. I mean, you have a 14 in charisma. That's not charismatic.
I kind of designed that of like, he either really find walking up to somebody random and just being like, well, let's just ask for directions. But it's like, he's clueless as far as like social customs. But he in a way is like a very outgoing child of like, like, I don't know about Logan, but like, if he just walks up to a random stranger and it's just like, I like your jacket or whatever, it's just like, okay, like, but
yeah, he don't do that. He hides behind me, but I can understand that.
I thought he was more like the shy kid. But like, you kind of understand that sense though of like, very charismatic, but maybe not totally like understanding of the world. I think kind of blending those things together in a way.
Okay, so and final question, just because I'm going to ask everybody. Hopefully, I'll have all these interviews done before you figure it out. Who knows? So, if you've been listening to the show, the party is going to this city, trying to get to the city to basically do a wellness check from this ancient entity, promising knowledge, power, riches, the old spiel. I guess it's kind of a two-part question, because it is called the Weeping City, and there's ash falling everywhere. One, what do you think is causing the ash? And then two, do you have any theories on what Lendris, the person that gave you the quest originally, is?
So I'm going to answer the Lendris one first, because I've had my own personal thoughts about that. I think Seven is just like, Lendris just a person.
Sure.
Will being a DM and have played a lot of things. There's part of my mind that's almost like, this is like a devil's deal in a way.
Okay.
Of like, you do this for me and I'll make all your wishes come true.
Okay.
Obviously, Seven is he's clueless. I'm going to play him as clueless. Still follow through with it. But there's part of me that's sort of like, that sounds too good to be true. But let's do it.
Fair enough.
So, as far as the Weeping City, because, at time of recording, we've entered it now, even though it's not released yet.
It's fine. You're not revealing anything.
Yeah.
They get to the city.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll reveal that they get to the city.
Yeah, we're at the city. We've explored a little bit of it. Have basically discovered at least where the ash is coming from, not necessarily what's causing it. There's part of me that sort of feels like there's like a machine or something that's kind of like, you know, whether some sort of ancient construct or something that is, I don't know, either went faulty or this is exactly what its purpose was supposed, or like a side effect of whatever it was.
Sorry, I'm going like deadpan right now. I don't want to give anything. Should he guess right or wrong or whatever?
Especially because this city was one of the last of the
one of the last major strongholds before, you know, there was a Mad Max situation. No water, no flora, fauna dying off, and then suddenly it started coming back over time. This was one of the last major bastions before kind of that new era started, when the first High King came to power.
Yeah. I feel like, so like when I say machine, it's like it's not something that this bastion has created themselves. Okay. Just from the information that we know, like something went in, and I feel like, you know, it may have just been simply created of like, we're gonna ash them out, basically, of like, you know, whoever the enemy was
smoke
like,
them out, but ash them. Okay, gotcha.
And it's essentially this machine that just kind of is a fog machine, basically, but like way worse.
Fog machine on steroids.
That is intentionally doing that. I think some of the other things that we've seen in the city, though, as far as inhabitants that we have possibly stumbled across, kind of makes me lean a lot more towards like the ash is part of the weapon in a way. But I don't know, because it's, I mean, that era of time was called the Ash War, and you know, so far as we know, the Weeping City is the only city like that. Where I would think if an entire war
is it killing you that there's nothing going on?
Very much so. I'm trying to therapist
right now, dude.
Trying to like
screaming things at you.
Yeah,
right now.
I'm trying to like therapist read your body language and everything.
Oh, believe me, bro, I went through it. You can't get me.
But yeah, there's part of me that's like, if it was called the Ash War and that truly was a weapon, I mean, it could almost be like, you know, essentially like how the Americans used the atomic bomb. It's like that was our final thing before really. You know, it's like that was the big weapon that ended it. And you know, especially if that was the last sort of bastion, it's just like, well, cool, enemy destroyed. Like you know, but like that was sort of like their never again type of moment. But also it's still going, and nobody knows what it is. So how can we never do it again if we don't know what it is? I don't know.
Man.
Yeah.
It's a good theory.
Yeah. Erased your notes.
Just change everything.
Yeah, just change everything. So
like just looking over and just typing ever so often.
Yeah. But we'll see.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, let's see. No, I think that's pretty much everything without going into any more detail on things, just because I think I don't want to ruin anything.
Absolutely.
Just getting into it, but thank you so much, Will, for coming and joining us for our first. And you know what? I'm gonna call these critical contents, because this is a one-on-one between creators and everything. So, if Seven had hair, what color would it be? Final question.
Yeah, so this is something because I was printing the little miniature of Seven and trying around Hero for it. I don't think he would have hair. I think he would have a very slick black handlebar mustache. Yeah, but like, fully, like, you know, he would twirl it, like, you know, like maybe even a
Captain Hook it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Absolutely. He just would sit there and just.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. I think he would still be, you know.
So you're seeing black, is what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm seeing a bit of black. Maybe like little salt and pepper in there. Yeah.
He is old.
He is ancient.
All right. So I appreciate you dealing with my actual last question. But thank you so much, Will. Again, you can watch Will play as Seven in our streams. Other than that, he is a counselor, so he obviously, as I do, advocate for mental health services. If you feel like you ever need somebody to talk, please reach out to someone You are not alone. You can speak with people. And if not, just take out your rage and aggression in tabletop RPGs.
Absolutely. Yes.
That is free.
Yeah.
I just make them go out of business.
I'm looking at actually becoming a therapeutic game master.
I saw that too, and I thought about it.
Yes.
Oh, we could open up. Okay.
Boom.
Stopping it
Yeah.
for the moment. But thank you for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
All right.
5 to Places.
Under the trees, under the trees.